So I would like to ask Patwant, what has being a practitioner and a teacher of Kundalini yoga given to you over the years?
I think, as for all of us, I think it's also just divine timing when you find something. At that time when I found it, I was 29, and my daughter's father had been diagnosed with HIV. I'd gone through a journey of not knowing if I'm positive, if my daughter's positive, or, just that whole process very much on my own. Miraculously, we weren't, and my daughter's father landed up leaving Earth when she was 5. But literally, this practice was integral in me remaining here and rooted and grounded and processing all the emotions, and the trauma of it, which actually wasn't that was a process of layers, a lot of PTSD that I didn't even know was a term. My body would literally, be shaking and moving through the kriyas, through the meditations. But, on the spiritual journey, as we know, there's multiple dark nights of the souls. There's multiple times where we go deep into the darkness and the unknown. And this practice has carried me through that, out of that, beyond that, at very, potent times in my life where it's felt very challenging. So this practice has definitely carried me through those dark places.
Yeah, I think I can really second that. The thing with Kundalini yoga, I find, is that because it's such a huge, generous practice with so much made available to us in all aspects, in the physical part of it with the kriyas and the meditations and the chanting and, so that when I found those times when I have disappeared down a rabbit hole again,
yes.
was that there's so much to choose from that is there to support you, and it's available, and all you have to do is tune in and do it, and it works. It's pretty much a guarantee, isn't it?
Yeah, completely agree with you. And whether it's like you rolling out of bed onto your yoga mat and just doing some gentle stretching or a breath practice, just being present with what is and allowing yourself and the practice to carry you, like what I love about this, and obviously why we still teaching is because we've experienced the transformative power of this practice, and that it can shift your energy so quickly. And that's what I particularly love about Kundalini yoga. And I think, if going back to those days of what initially really resonated, was the fact that you knew what you were working with. Like, okay, we're going to do a kriya for releasing fear or releasing anger or getting the body out of distress, or the different podis of japji. That's okay, this particular podi works on this, and okay, let's see how that goes. Or Atma, I'd like to ask you, is there any particular practice that comes to mind that was that carried you through a particularly challenging time, and what was that, if anything comes to mind?
I think it was a particular meditation. It's called the meditation for Brosa, and that means about learning how to trust. I won't go into all the details of how it's done, but that one meditation carried me through frequently, is if I just lift my arms up and do this, I'm going to feel better. And it did. It always delivered, and that is the great support and comfort that I have found over the years. And I think we all do. And then I'm thinking about perhaps we could share a little bit about something that jumps out in terms of teaching, that was kind of weird or funny or, yeah. I know you've got one up your sleeve, so tell us.
Well, I know you've also had some super interesting experiences over all these years. Like, I definitely want to hear about that. For many years, I taught at a psychiatric hospital in 2 male forensic wards, which was quite wild. But I also I love that I love teaching in places where you wouldn't generally find Kundalini yoga or any form of yoga, and you get to see another side of the human psyche. Or there were some outstandingly funny situations there. Just the teaching journey has been so incredible. Actually, just the different locations and places that I feel like I've been blessed to teach at. And I would love to hear. I'd love to hear you.
Not as exciting as yours, no. But for a while I was showing up at a large prison, in the women's section. And it was actually very sad because these were women who had been sentenced. And I gave a couple of classes for those who were awaiting trial. At one stage in Cape Town, there was a lot of gangsterism. It was very, very active. So with the gangsters came the gangsters' moles, and they were hectic, tattooed everywhere, very harsh, but very resilient too. And the contrast between them and those who had been sentenced to however long was that sense of, it wasn't even acceptance, it was sad. It was sad because life is hard. And there they were, serving their sentence in a place that, and I've watched a number of TV series and movies and so on where there's been that incarceration. And the thing that stuck out for me so much at this particular prison was the noise of metallic doors opening and closing constantly, because it's all divided into sections, and it seems to be the way that it's done all over the world. That was... And also their almost inability to be able to relax in Shavasana. Those poor bodies were tight as steel. That was very sad. But through that we also learn compassion, don't we? Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, Atma, for sharing that. Yeah. And also what I wanted to say is that, you also are an inspiration. I mean, you are 80 years old and you are still practicing and teaching. When I grow up, I want to be like you. No. I mean, it is an inspiration, and it's why we practice yoga, so that we are flexible on all layers and levels of our being. We continue to do what we do because we love what we do, and it's a calling and a purpose driven existence, really. In a way, it's like you don't really have a choice. It's like this is, I mean, we always have choice, we choose, but it's like surrendering to your purpose. And yeah, so how has your practice changed over the years? Because for me already, I mean, post-menopausal and going through menopause, you know, the practice changes in so many ways, and it feels like it deepens, but in a different way, and is almost more subtle.
For me, the thing with Kundalini yoga is that it's so doable. You don't even have to sit on the ground. You can sit in a chair and do it. There's a lot of breath work, you know, for people who haven't had the experience of Kundalini yoga. It's very, very different. There's nothing complicated about it. Some of the mudras can get a bit tricky, and it allows you to go to the level of doability, right? You know, and we do crazy things with arms, sometimes for a long time, you know, and it's very challenging, but it challenges in a way that it's between you and you. And it's our choice whether we can actually meet that challenge or not. But as we continue our practice, we very quickly become very strong. Strong, obviously, in body, because it works so much with the nervous system, but also strong in the mind. You know, it takes us to places where we never imagined we could go.
Yes. Yeah, and we were chatting earlier about resilience, and it definitely instills in one a deep sense of resilience and flexibility. I always think of like a reed in the wind, you know, that, you know, yeah, just that fluidity and flexibility and deep resilience. Atma, so beautiful to have this time on this beautiful beach together and have this little chit chat and practice. And Sat Nam.
Sat Nam. We are blessed.
Yeah.
Thank you.